one of the things that I've experienced in business on the startup is I've typically, in most often cases, been too early in the business that I started. You know, in which I think that some people may think that that's a, you know, if they look at it like, oh wow, you're really able to see the future.
The second mover usually wins the game.
Yeah, exactly.
Not the first mover.
That's right. Like it's actually, I've had a lot of pain.
You don't want to be the 29th mover, but you don't want to be the first either. We're back.
We're back, baby.
Another episode of
that
Big Talk about small businesses.
It's 100% organic, listeners, every time.
Eric and I have been going at it already here for about 10 minutes.
Hell, we're going at it every day, man. We're just talking about how we're just grinding.
We are.
I mean, even though we're old.
Yeah, well, I'm even older than you.
I mean, you're a lot older than I am, but
yeah. I'm tired, but still, you've had a lot of miles put on you. You know, if you talk about work time, you're probably as old as me.
I don't know, man.
You know,
I've just been honestly, like, I've always tried to stay up with you.
Oh, God,
no. I mean, seriously, dude, you're the one of the hardest, fastest workers I've ever met in my life. It's insane.
Well, you are too. I mean, you are somebody that just constantly keeps reaching out for more. I mean, I think what you're doing right now with Ad Fury is absolutely brilliant.
Thanks, man.
Most people would not do that. They build this company that you did with, you know, White Spider, and go through everything you went through, and then have this great exit, and it goes on in a new form and all, and then, you know, you get right back into it.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's nasty time.
With another one that's got huge potential.
It does.
I mean, it's just, you're so brilliant. And you brought your former partner back.
Yeah.
You were lucky to get him involved.
Very lucky.
Again.
Yeah, he's awesome, man.
I mean, it's just like...
We have a great team, man. I mean, the older I get on this, the more I see the value of team building. Mm-hmm. You know, getting the right people on the bus and the right seats. It takes time. It takes investment, you know. But, I mean, I feel like that company... you know, it's just been in existence for a few months, but I can see now the team starting to
gel.
It's a beautiful thing, man.
I mean, just being in your office last week, the place has a buzz. It's like people are back there working their ass off.
Getting nasty.
I love it.
Let's get nasty.
You know, it's so great. You know, you see so many small business owners and entrepreneurs out there, or wannabe entrepreneurs, and they're sitting there right now and they're griping. And I mean, I've been on that boat too.
Yeah.
About the tariffs or the uncertainty, or the stock market goes down and then consumer confidence drops. All those things are real. But you know what? So what? At some point you got to say, those are real, can't do a damn thing about them. Yeah. Now I'm going to get off my ass and figure out how to be successful anyway.
It's the same premise as personal life, right? Like, I mean, you either get at it or get out of the way.
Yeah.
I mean, and I think that getting into business, it's like, it's exacerbated that entire policy, right? Like that, where you have to freaking get on the bus and go. You can't worry about what you can't control.
Exactly. And the other thing is, there's always a risk.
Yes.
Okay. I mean, look, you and I both, and you know, probably you to a greater extent than me, but we still take our money and we put it into things where we don't know if we're going to get it back. No, okay.
No. Right.
But we do it, and that's how we get ahead. Other people go, oh man, you're lucky, aren't you? Wow, I can't believe it. You're so lucky that you got into that. Or it's not luck.
No.
It's you're willing to take a risk.
Yeah. And I think, you know, we've talked about it a lot of times, but that's the definition of an entrepreneur. Like, this one big part of it is that you take a personal financial risk.
Right.
And that looks like a lot of different ways. If you have money, you put it in, you risk the money, or you sacrifice. Yeah, you take your time and you sacrifice making it somewhere else.
Or you do both.
Or you're like in our situation, you're doing all of the above, right?
It's true.
But you have to. I mean, like, and I think that, like, people want to take banking policies and apply them to entrepreneurship, and it does not work out.
Yeah, banks are risk avoiders.
Their entire business is set up on minimizing risk.
It has to be. If you look at what banks, their margin is so slim. I mean, the difference in what they pay for the money versus what they lend it out for.
Yeah.
They have to cover all their overhead, all their people, all their locations, all their software, all their marketing, all their insurance, everything, and then make a profit. They can't afford to make a bad decision.
No.
I always say that to my students. It's like, well, I'm going to go in there with my business. They don't care about your business plan. No. They want to know if you got assets to secure this with, if you have other income sources. Okay?
That's right. If I loan you this money, how can I get paid back in case you fail like most people will? So I'm minimizing my risk. And I think that, there's a lot of, that's what I think a big barrier is with a lot of really smart people. It's almost like the smarter you are, the harder it is to be an entrepreneur. Because you have learned to calculate so much.
You know so much.
You know so much, like you've been doing the stock market, you've been investing here, you're looking at all this stuff, working with banks, and you're so elevated and smart. You're going to the Northwest Arkansas, economic outlook, and I mean, all these smart, greatly intelligent.
Sure.
But then you calculate in your brain the amount of risk that it is and if it's worth it.
Yeah.
And I would say that in anything that I've ever done, had I calculated that, I would have never done anything.
Exactly. I mean, I totally understand.
100%.
It's so true.
You'd be like, that's a bad idea.
Too much information bombarding you gives you all the reasons not to do something.
Yeah.
You almost have to be ignorant enough to do it.
Ignorance is a good trait.
In a way.
I mean, at this age, what I did when I was 22, as an entrepreneur, I couldn't. Yeah. I wouldn't be able to do it. Or maybe am I doing it again? It's just even multiplied. I don't know.
I hear you. It's interesting because I'm writing an article right now that I'm delinquent on for the Swag Letter. It's advice to my 30-year-old self. And one of the things I was thinking is like, take 10% of what you make and put it in the stock market. Never touch it. Okay.
Yeah.
I know that's good advice. I know it is.
That's right.
I've tried to do it so many different times when I was young.
Yeah.
But then the reality sets in. It's like, oh my God, now I got a huge tax bill. Where am I going to get the money for that? I know. Let's hit the 401k. Pay the 10% penalty. Okay.
That's it, man.
Early withdrawal. Pay tax on it.
Got all this saved up, tucked away, then payroll hits. And you're like, oh, do I lose all my staff or do I keep my little?
I need $68,000 this week. Where am I going to get that? Oh, I know.
Oh, yeah, I made a good decision 5 years ago.
Yeah.
It's time to suck that one out.
People don't understand. It's like, I always find it interesting when I I'll have students that go into, investment management or wealth management. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay. There's a lot of them that do that. They all come from Dallas and there's a lot of money there and everything, right?
Yeah.
And they're like, I'm going to get into wealth management. And who are you going to target? I'm going to target entrepreneurs. I'm like, wrong people to target. Entrepreneurs are not your target, but your target client should be lawyers, doctors, dentists, people who make a lot of money and know nothing about business.
That's right.
Because entrepreneurs will always put their money in their own business where they have control over it and they know it.
Yeah. There is I look at it. I feel very isolated a lot of times because, if I work with any advisor or bankers or whatever, like there's this tension that I'm always having in every single conversation that I have. Like nothing that they do makes any sense to me whatsoever.
You need whole life, right?
I'm like, why?
The last time I did buy one of those policies, and then they're like, okay, now we need $20,000 from you this week to fund this. I'm like, 20 grand? What? Why? I don't want to.
And in any suggestion they make, I'm like countering it with like, how does that make any sense?
If I invest,
how do I have company? How do I maintain liquidity in case I need to pay payroll?
Exactly.
That's my number one question.
Plus, what's my return on invested capital in my own business?
Right.
Okay.
Well, that's the thing. It's like, you'll make, maybe you'll make 5% after inflation, and you're like, that's terrible.
5%. It's like my own business. I never make less than 50% on a year on what I've got invested.
Yeah, that's right.
It's like they don't understand that.
Yeah.
Because they're used to the fact that a lot of businesses fail.
Yeah. Well, it's all about securing what you already have, not going for something that you don't have.
Going for the brass ring, right?
That's right.
And just hoping you get through it.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, today we're supposed to talk about how when's the best time to start a business.
Now.
Exactly. Okay, we're done with that.
Done.
That
Done with the
topic's over. Don't delay. You want to learn how to do it? Do it. Okay?
Jump in, baby.
Both feet.
Both feet, get nasty, put everything on the line, stress out, wig out, have sleepless nights, work harder than you ever had before in your life, and just do it.
Yeah. It's, I know this hasn't really been your strategy necessarily over your course of your entrepreneurial career, but so, I teach this small enterprise management class, and I'm just wrapping it up right now, my final grades, and I read all my final papers turned in by my students, which is probably like 75 or 80 students this semester. And they're great. Okay. I love them. But one of the most important things they got out of my class this semester is you don't have to start a business to be an entrepreneur. You can go buy a business, or you can buy a franchise.
Yeah.
Okay. And so, this idea that is pounded into people's heads that the only way to become an entrepreneur is to do a cold start, I think is fundamentally flawed.
No, it is. Agreed.
And
there's a lot of, it's attractive to me to think about buying an existing business and just improving the processes.
Exactly.
Right now is actually the best time in the world.
I'm telling you, all these boomers are getting all out.
There's
no
that
plan.
And then there's the whole AI scenario. You can go into about any business that's existing and improve the efficiency.
I believe that.
With using AI workflows and everything else. Just going in there and mapping out and then applying the AI throughout the entire organization, every nook and cranny, and you can turn that thing from somewhat profitable to extremely profitable.
And that's just, that's working on the processes of how they do what they do. The other side of it is pretty much every business that I've ever looked at has shitty marketing.
Yeah.
Or does nothing.
Yeah.
We've talked about that before on the show, but if you fix the processes and then apply some basic marketing to it.
Dude, you could blow that puppy up, man.
It's so true. I just like taking an existing business because I can see what's there.
Yeah.
When you start from scratch, it's harder, I think, in a lot of ways.
No, well, I think it's expensive because the
can't
cost,
finance it as easily as
no.
a buy.
Well, in the cost for new customer acquisition is the most expensive thing.
Sure,
it
is
in the business. Yep. In all honesty, it really is.
It really is.
And if you can buy a business that has a consistent amount of clientele that are coming in the door that know about you, that are calling because their faucet's broken. And you've been known in the industry. There's this
as a faucet fixer.
Word of mouth. Look, I know we've talked about word of mouth, but there is the best form of customer retention is word of mouth. And,
of course it is.
But it takes time to get there.
They've got to get there. Yeah, they've got to try you in the first place.
Yeah, absolutely. But if you have
word of mouth,
if you have this word of mouth recurring calls, that's gold, man.
Dude, I just wrote about that in the last issue of the Swag Letter. I know you probably haven't read it yet, but it came out on Monday, and it's all on referrals. Okay.
Yeah.
And so, why do we give referrals? I get people call me all the time. It's like they want to hire architects or engineers or contractors, right? I get calls and emails and texts almost every day from somebody.
Yeah.
And, I put that article out there, and in a 24-hour period, I gave 5 referrals to one provider, and I gave 2 referrals to another provider, and I gave 1 referral each to 2 other providers.
Wow.
Now, why do I give the referrals is the question.
Because you trust that the contractor will fulfill your valuable reputation, that you're being asked this question. And so if they fail on that job, then it's gonna hurt your reputation.
You refer people who return phone calls, emails promptly.
Yeah.
Right.
They get work done. They do what they say they're going to do.
Exactly.
It's so simple.
They do what they say they're going to do. So that gets you the referrals. They understand what a budget is and that it's important to comply. Okay. They don't create problems for you down the road. I mean, there's all these things that are really not that hard to control.
That's right.
In your business. that you have to control, that give you the reputation that allows your customers and clients to refer you. So, yeah, you're
100%.
right. But anyway, today we're talking about the best time to start a business. We both agree it's now.
Right.
Okay? Don't fool around. Do it. So...
Well, this first bullet, like let's use what our team gives us, right?
Okay,
Some
let's
structure.
Let's
some
do
bullet points. So, first question is should people wait for the perfect moment versus taking immediate action? And I know we answered that right out of the gate.
Yeah.
But I want to say something about waiting for the perfect moment. It's the best analogy I have is like saying, I'm going to have a kid at the perfect moment.
I knew you were going to say that because it came to my mind too.
Yeah,
exactly.
It's like there's no perfect moment. You can plan to your freaking 50 on how you're going to be the best parent, have the best circumstances, but it doesn't matter. Like it's about the time, and you have the kid and you get on it, man. You become a parent.
You do what you got to do.
You do what you got to do.
You're responsible
You don't look back.
now.
You move forward.
Yes. You are responsible.
That's right. That's right. And so I think that, that perfect moment, which kind of comes in that second one about looking for the certain indicators or favorable time to start the business, right? I mean, there is some, I think one of the things that I've experienced in business on the startup is I've typically, in most often cases, been too early in the business that I started, in which I think that some people may think that that's if they look at it like, oh, wow, you're really able to see the future.
The second mover usually wins the game.
Yeah, exactly.
Not the first mover.
That's right. Like it's actually, I've had a lot of pain.
You don't want to be the 29th mover, but you don't want to be the first either many times.
I've been through a lot of pain on being ahead, and it does work out as long as you can push through. But
if you succeed, it's going to be a big success.
It will be. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing.
But don't expect that it's going to be an easier ride. It's actually a harder ride to be the first mover.
Well, the reason is because you not only do you have to figure out how to do what you have to do, but you got to convince people they need it.
Yes.
They don't know they need it.
Exactly.
Okay. The second mover, it's like, okay, the market's already established. I know that they need it. Now we need them to select us.
That's right. That's right.
The first mover has got to convince them that they have a need in the first place. That's a different game.
And you got to own the hell out of it. Like once you get a job, you have to push and push and push and make sure that you stay in front of that, right? I mean, so there's some advantage in the sense of where you can get some of the folks to work with you first, but basically what I've seen is that I just breed competition by doing that.
Yes.
Right when you launch, you got a lot of doubters and naysayers, not only clientele, but you got your competitors out there that don't believe in you, think it's going to do anything. But when you start getting the jobs, they start getting jealous. And most of the people that are watching what you're doing, if it's innovative, are bigger companies that have bigger funds that can kind of come at, and they have existing clientele where they can adding your service on top of what they already do is an easy move.
They've already got the distribution channels established. They're selling stuff to your target clients already.
Exactly. You got these relationships, right?
Yeah, you got it.
And so that's a huge threat.
Yes, it is.
But I mean, the thing is like and then you have this period of where they come in, they try to interrupt that, but then there's a cycle of coming back to you because they are not able to fulfill with what you can. But they land grab it, and that could cost 6 months to a year and a half worth of this cycle to where they basically have caused this massive distraction between you and your client originally.
Yeah, well, you have always been in these things where you're trying to create something all new.
Yes.
Okay. True. I mean, and that you're going for the home run. Okay.
Yeah.
The other startup, if we want to call it that, or new business one can start is you are one of thousands of existing providers. Okay.
Right.
The potential may seem like it's not as great. It may not be as great as the first mover new creator.
Right.
But the risk is a lot lower because the market already knows it needs like trash collection or whatever.
Yeah. And trash is a great industry to get in.
So you just, all you got to do is figure out how you're going to do your trash collection a little bit better. Like, what do our containers look better when they sit out in front of somebody's house?
Which could be a big deal for people that are
in a really nice neighborhood.
Heck yeah.
Like where you live right now.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how the trash gets collected over there at Shadow Valley. You stick your trash out on the street?
Yeah.
Do you have like recycling bins?
Yeah.
Or is that a separate?
No, it's a separate.
Another rolling container?
It's another rolling container.
Okay, well, that looks better.
Yeah, it looks better than...
In Fayetteville, so, I got to put my trash out. So just last night, I put my trash out, all right? I got 2 rolling containers for trash. Mm-hmm. Then I have 2 bins with lids for my 2 types of recycling.
Yeah.
Then I had all my leaf bags and stuff like that that are paper.
Yeah.
That have been sitting out in the rain. Okay.
Yeah.
So I put all that crap out in front of my house.
Yeah.
Looks like hell. When I get back from this podcast recording session this morning, I will be picking up crap out of my front yard. My recycling bins will be tossed out there. The lids will be tossed out there. One of my trash cans might be falling over in the street. The leaf bag where it broke is going to leave stuff all over the curb.
Yep.
It's going to look like hell. So if somebody has a solution to that for nice neighborhoods, they might win. Create a business. Yeah. It's just one example. Sorry to get distracted on you with that. But anyway, there is a difference in a startup in an established market where they know they need you and all you're doing is tweaking things a little bit versus these invention of something new kind of businesses that you've been known to do. Which this one we're in right now is an invention.
Yeah.
The podcast videos.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Who does that?
Well,
create all these different studios here and all the production capabilities and everything that you have to make it completely turnkey.
Yeah, and it's been the same story. I mean, a lot of inspiration and education towards clientele, but it's starting to turn. Which probably shouldn't say that because now everybody's going to start jumping in, a little bit and trying to mimic. But that's okay. Let them come.
Well, you've got the capital investment. I mean, the average person starting a business like this isn't going to be able to do what you do.
I got the crazy, Mark.
They would. I
love it when people.
This studio and this technology that you have put in place here and already refined your technology.
One of the most invigorating things, though, is when you see somebody trying to freaking take a little bit of what you got.
Yeah, I know. I used to hate
Gives a little energy.
I used to hate all competitors. I don't necessarily feel like that anymore.
I don't either, really. I don't hate it, but I love sport.
Beating them, though. Yeah, it's a blood sport.
Love winning.
Because I think, in reality, it doesn't have to be that it's not a zero-sum game. The market size is not fixed.
Yes.
That's where the flaw is in that thinking.
Yeah.
That the market's X and you're going to get point something of X and they're going to get point something of X.
Right.
Just not like that.
No, it's not.
You could expand the whole market.
There's a lot of room to play, right?
Yes,
everybody can have a piece.
Yes.
And it's good, though. I mean, because it makes you kind of get out of any kind of complacency. And a lot of the complacency has to do with the team, right? But I mean, if they can feel people biting at their heels, I mean, it motivates you.
Yeah.
To do a little bit extra. Everything's about the extra, right? So,
when you start a business, how much do you really look at the competition out there and go,
I don't.
I've got to do this because the competition's doing this. What? I mean,
I don't know that I
do that in any formal process.
No, not at all. Like I really don't look at competition because a lot of times the things that I'm doing personally don't really have competition to begin with.
Right, because you're inventing something new.
Yeah. I see a gap in the industry.
Yeah.
In the market, and I go after that gap. Then I do start looking at people that are somewhat adjacent to whatever I'm doing and seeing and kind of watch if they're trying to get their toes in it or how much they've gone into it. And a lot of times, I mean, they're not very far into it. And so I kind of, just push them to the side a little bit. But I don't like do any kind of massive competitive analysis.
I never did either, to be honest.
Yeah.
Never really did. Not to say I don't know what's out there.
Right.
I'm curious.
But I mean, you can do some quick 5-minute research and kind of get what you need to know. Yeah. I mean, I do watch if I see somebody come out with something that's kind of impeding, then you need to make a counterattack. But it's like boxing, right? I mean, you're getting quick jabs and you punch back and you just move on.
What I find is so if I've got a business that serves a whole lot of small customers, that's a lot harder for somebody to come into and compete with me on. If I've got one mega customer, Then the big guys, they love that, okay, because they're already doing business with the mega customer. Their whole business orientation is, we don't want those little, if they can't pay us X million dollars a year, we have no interest in them, okay?
Yep.
So they don't fool around with me if I've got this business that's got a lot of little clients. Yeah, we're talking business to business clients.
And a lot of times I find that favorable
that.
too. Yeah, I do too, because the higher quantity of customers you have, the safer you really are.
Exactly.
You're actually protecting yourself.
Yeah,
because if you lose 10%, you're okay.
Yep.
But if you lose one client and you have 5 big clients, I mean, it's I see a lot in the ad
That's client
agency
concentration risk. It devalues the business.
Yeah, you lose an account, you have to lay off 20% of your staff. I mean, that's not a...
Yeah.
And you're living in that vulnerability the entire time, which makes you a puppet to the client.
My oldest brother, he came out of the ad agency business at a big level, and they had one automaker client that paid him either $1 or $2 billion a year.
Yeah.
Gosh, if you lose that, you're screwed.
You're screwed. And anybody in that organization that has a problem with you any day of the week, it's stressful.
I'm sure their competitors were just aiming at them like crazy, trying to get a piece of that.
Yeah.
But so if you start a business and you serve a lot of small clients, you're in a better position to fend off competitors, right? We agree on that. So what do you think about how important is the legal and financial thinking that goes into a startup, in your opinion?
It's absolutely critical. I mean, as far as the point of them, but I think that as far as if you're looking at starting a business, I mean, that's where you can kind of fall in this trap of just where you never get anything going, because you could spend the rest of your life digging into the financial pro forma and analysis.
I mean, I don't have 6 months of free cash to survive with no income.
Right.
That kind of stuff that they teach in school sometimes. Nobody does that.
So
no one has that.
You'll have analysis paralysis.
Yeah. So that's true.
Yeah. And so I think that you have to do some diligence on that. I mean, obviously, but I think that it's more about having an instinctual gut that, it's, is the risk worth the reward, basically, and you just kind of got to go for it, and then because a lot of times it's more about, are you on the phone making calls and are you building a business, than it is looking at finances and financials and legalities all the time.
Yeah, I don't know about you, but I always feel like, and not to say I always do, but yes, I probably always do, is if I know if I do the work that's required, the results are going to come.
100%.
I never feel like, when you really come down to it, now, do I always feel like doing the work? No, I don't. I'll be honest with you. Sometimes I'm tired or I'm not that interested in it at that point in time. I've been distracted by other opportunities or whatever.
Yeah.
But I honestly, in my gut, I know if I do the work that I have to do and I'm supposed to do, that business is going to make it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Don't you feel like that?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, 100%. It's and I think to your point, you don't always feel on.
Yeah.
You shouldn't feel bad for feeling bad, or for feeling tired or whatever it might be, or overwhelmed or whatever it is. But
some people turn to drugs and booze during those times. That was never my tendency.
Yeah.
So I'm going to get through that. It's not going to last forever. I guess
no, it doesn't. Yeah, it doesn't. It's been amazing. I think when I look at the journey, there's been there's been a lot of, I think there's a high quantity of stressful moments, right? That they're kind of acute. They come in quickly and intensely, but if you can but that's why you need to know how to go get your head right. And sometimes you have to stop and just go out and do what you need to do. Go mow the yard, do something.
Yes, exactly.
That gets your head out of it. But a lot of times, it just kind of happens. And for the most part, things work out for the better, the people that have good intentions.
Yeah, exactly.
If you're,
I agree with you 100%.
There's a different level of stress, imagine, if you're unethical or you're cheating or you're whatever.
Yeah, because there's these things that could come out there and crush you
Yes.
in the future.
Yep.
That, Yeah.
And you can easily I mean, it's just like anything else. You can get into a gambling habit. Like it starts out kind of fun, but I'm sure that
That's true too.
But over time, like
As the entrepreneur, you're like a gambler
You
at
are.
a certain level.
you are. And like,
You don't think you're doing anything stupid though, or risk that you can't
yeah.
take. But yeah,
But I mean, like
it is true.
If you can get yourself in a pattern real quick, and we've seen it happen to people. Like, I mean, even top executives, I mean, they can get into a behavior or pattern that was going to be a one-time thing, and the next thing you know, they've just built this thing around them, and then they're in this jeopardy, and where they can lose it all. I mean,
It's interesting. We've been watching that show. I don't know what it's on, what channel or anything, but my wife has it about these famous chefs.
yeah,
Have you seen that show?
no,
It's great. What I love about it, where they just focus on one at a time and they get into their whole story. What I love about it, I love any business that combines business with creativity.
yeah,
I love that. And art, where I take my art and I turn it into a business. The cooking that they do is art,
yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah, for sure.
but they make it a business. But my point of all this is, it's funny you say that, love. These people are all obsessed and they all tend to overcommit and overexpand.
Yep.
It's like they wake up one day and I got 47 restaurants, okay? And then the whole thing crashes down at me. It's just like you're saying. It's like they're compulsive pushers and gamblers. You can take this thing too far to where you can't manage it.
Yeah.
And you can't manage the risk.
Yeah. And a lot of, but it kind of backs up to, what is your character as a person? Because I mean, like yourself, myself, and the people that I do business with are really great people trying to do really great things, and they're putting themselves on the line. They back up what they say they're going to do.
Yeah, we're not trying to do anything that like exploits our customers.
Right,
or
exactly.
hurts. Yeah,
And we're not at it for the money.
Right.
We're
No.
trying to just.
we're in it to do what we do.
Yes, exactly. You have a purpose in
Yeah.
what you're doing, not you're not just trying to make money, right? And be flashy and
Yeah.
narcissism, basically.
Yeah.
It's all about you. It's about everyone that's in your team. And I think that if you're in that realm, then
That's the good intentions.
then you will have struggles and bad things. But most of the times, that energy or that karma, business
Boy,
karma.
you're so right
goes
about it.
on.
You're so much more philosophical than I ever realized.
Thanks, Mark. Appreciate that.
I can say every day I get more respect for you.
I appreciate that. But there's been 100 times that I can look back and see that, like, at wit's end about something.
Yeah.
But then
It's the
things
good
start
intentions.
turning. There's people that come to help.
Exactly, because of your good intentions
Yes.
and the good things that you've tried to do. People respect that.
Yeah,
and
they
come
want to
in.
help, man. They want to support
Boy, that's
you.
so true.
And
It really is.
And business karma is a real deal, man.
Oh, my God, is
Like
it
I've
ever.
seen it. I've seen it in its worst and best.
You've only got one reputation.
You do.
I swear. I mean, if you destroy that, you may never recover.
And that energy, that negative dark cloud energy, follows people viciously. Like, and so I think that, it's, you have to kind of trust the invisible, the intangible, and all this business stuff. Like, and that's part of the problem of being really smart. Like, you feel like that it's logical. You feel like that everything's reasonable, and you can plan to your wits end before you start a business. But the problem happens whenever you sold a job, you put the line of credit on there so you can cover the cash, but then all of a sudden the client just doesn't pay at the right time. Now you got a problem, right? And then the next week they don't pay. And so how do you handle those things? In most cases, if you're paying your bills to your vendors and you're working and you're respecting that and you're respecting the flow of business, when you have a bad apple in there, like, things just seem to kind of work out for the people that are doing the good, right? But the bad apples, they start crashing because they don't pay their vendors, but they also don't get paid. And then this karma, this energy just starts rolling negative, And so I think that, you can't analyze it so much.
Ready to level up your show? At podcastvideos.com, we offer industry-leading recording and expert marketing to help your show reach more listeners. From creation to distribution, we've got you covered. Visit podcastvideos.com and elevate your podcast today.
It's funny you talk about paying vendors, because I just had this discussion recently with a company that we're, involved with. And my goal with my businesses was always to be the fastest payer.
Yeah.
Does it help my cash flow if I string everybody out? Oh, yeah, sure, it helps my cash flow. The vendors are basically financing my business. Do I get people to jump when they need to jump?
No.
Do they do me favors when I need a favor? No. Okay. So my strategy is the opposite of a lot of people. I want to be the fastest payer there is. In the construction business, that was always my thing.
Yeah, it's a
You
big deal.
give me a bill today, I'll pay you today.
Yeah.
Okay. Instantly. Then they jump. Then they want to help me.
A lot of people, when they're starting up a business, they look at how big companies and big corporations do business.
Exactly.
It's not the same game, bro.
Yes.
Like you cannot implement what big corporations are doing in your small business. Like it's the same principle of somebody saying, you know, I've met a few of them, right? They're creative artists or whatever, and they want to charge $150 an hour.
Yeah.
But they have no other clients.
Right.
But they want to charge you $150 because that's what other big agencies are doing.
Yeah.
And so you're trying to level up your small little business into a big frame and play this big frame.
You gotta
game.
work your way up.
Yeah,
That's
but
what
you
you're
have
saying.
no freaking overhead.
You gotta work your way up.
And you know, and if you, I would take business at $3 an hour. I mean, I went through a long time making less than minimum wage, man. You know what I'm saying? But it paid out. Like, and then you calculate.
Gives you a
the back
chance
end.
to demonstrate, is
It
what you're
does,
saying.
man.
Yeah.
Like you can't apply big
Build a
business
relationship.
practices to a really small business, and that's a big fail.
Amen.
And that's a big problem with folks that have been working in corporate land. I mean, this kind of comes down to this topic of when do you start at the best time? They're so smart, so well trained, and so analytical. They try to apply these big principles in organizations with people and support systems and resources that they have. With
small business does not have that.
No, you can't. You just don't do it, man.
I've been on boards of directors of privately held companies where there'll be another outside director that comes in from from one of those organizations. I've been 30 years at ABC Megacorp. Okay.
Yeah.
And then every meeting, whatever issue comes up, it's like, well, at ABC Megacorp, we did yada, 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 yada. And like, at some point, I feel like saying, would you just shut up? We don't care about ABC Megacorp.
Yeah, it's not
We're not
applicable.
ABC Megacorp, okay? Stop telling us what they did at ABC Megacorp. Okay, we're not that. We're a $20 million company. They do, $200 billion or whatever they do.
It's a whole different
Okay,
animal,
it's
man.
irrelevant.
Whole different animal.
So it's so true what you're saying.
You gotta and I think that you gotta reach. And it's another thing too to start a business and that business starts growing. Now you're in a different position. Like second stage growth in a business is not the same as a startup.
Yeah, I know.
And then when you start up,
People say that all the time, and then they go, well, no, I need to have professional management. Okay. There is some truth to that, but where it fails is when they go, no, I need professional management. I don't need the entrepreneur.
no, that's
Okay. I've seen that a million times too. And then it just flattens out and dies.
That's right. Because
Okay.
I think that big companies don't understand, like everybody has to relate of where that company is at that moment and then make the decisions based on where that company is at that moment. If you have a big company buys a small company and they're over here playing in big land, they don't understand that smaller area there's some value that it has that's not even relative to what they're doing on the big side.
Yeah.
And so they can make decisions that crush
Yeah.
and that destroy this karma that this business might have going.
Oh, they do that all the time.
Yeah. But it's
that's
not,
the culture or whatever that they ruin.
Yeah, and
a way,
but I don't think it's ever intentional. It's
Right.
Just, it's the same thing as a small business starting up like there's some big business. Like you have to be able to be flexible as to where that company is at a certain stage and know what to do with it then, not trying to apply things that are outside of a different realm.
That's what I hate about these books like Good to Great. I'm sorry, but I mean, even though there's a lot of sense in it, I don't care what they did at Megacorp.
Yeah.
Here's the practices that they have in my small privately held company. It just may not be relevant at all.
Yeah.
You know,
and it's the same principle. If like you and I got hired and went and worked at Walmart in an executive role, I mean, like we cannot come in there with our mentality. There's a whole different level of and different playing field than what I'm used to. Unless we're hired to do exactly that. To be
a
person.
disruptor, crusher. It's funny you say that because we all went through these battery of psychological tests in 1985 when I went to work for one company and was at the higher management level. And they basically said I was unemployable. Okay, that I wouldn't stay there long, which I didn't. I was only there 3 years. Still became my biggest client though over time anyway.
Yeah.
But it's so true. I mean, like, I hate that term executive applied to, like, even my title at the U of A at one point was executive in residence. And I said, I don't like that title. I'm not an executive.
Yeah.
I never will be.
You're a dog.
Yeah, I mean,
you put that dog in resident.
I'm an entrepreneur. There's a difference there. And I'm glad you brought that up, because when it comes time to start a business, executives may not have what it takes. They'd probably be better served if they want to make that adjustment to get out of corporate America, then go to work in the industry that they want to work in a company and just get paid.
Yeah.
Okay. Be there for 2 or 3 years. Find out how the little company's doing it. Then go do their own thing. That adjustment period may really change their thinking about how they're going to do things.
Yeah. And I would say too, like when you, like the right time to start a business, you need to know what kind of business you're going into. Your point, right? Do you buy an existing one? That one has a different plan, a different timing of when
maybe
you
a totally different industry.
Yeah, but I mean, like, it's like if I was to buy a business, like there is a timing factor that's different than me to start something that's brand new.
Oh yeah, there is.
To something that's different. If you're going to start a software and, some sort of, or
it's your domain. Yeah.
I mean, like, that's a different type of business that you need. Your timing is different. Like,
yeah,
a lot of times that is a race, it's a freaking race, but it requires more capital, more time to get revenue in, versus you buy an existing business. Like, it could be more impacted by a little bit more macro events. Is it the right time to get into the plumbing business?
Yeah.
But some of them don't really matter, like plumbing or trash, right? Where you always are going to have that need.
Yeah.
And so the timing is more about your own personal life.
Yeah.
And how to calculate that is so there's so much variety to it.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up. The personal life issue is a big issue.
Yeah.
You got to have the spouse, we've talked about this before, who understands the difference when you own a business versus having a job.
That is probably your biggest timing factor.
That's the biggest. In all honesty. It really is.
Especially if you're old as hell like we are.
Yeah.
And you're married, right?
Yeah.
Like what my wife would say if I was to start a new business. Like, she's actually cut me off.
Yeah.
On starting another business.
No, I get it. I totally get it. Just like the other day, it's just like, okay, we need money in this business. Here you go. Boom. It's like my wife's like, I want to go to Italy. I'm like, Italy? We're not doing that now. Okay, I'll just spend 10 times that on something else. But yeah, we're not doing that right now. I mean, you know what I mean, though?
Yeah,
it's true.
If you play this out, though, like, let's say that you are a top level executive or senior manager at a big corporation, and you have this desire to start up a business. And you're married and you got kids, right?
Yeah, you're used to bringing home $482,000 a year, and then you get a bonus at the end of the year for $200,000, right?
Yeah, and I mean, here's in talking about being philosophical. Like, if I was in that situation and I went to approach my wife, like, the thing is that assuming that you're a guy, or whatever, I'm sure it'd be different, potentially. But I mean, like, anybody that, like, you have to go with that ambition, is that this is your purpose. Like, you have a purpose in starting this business. This is not about finances. This is about your purpose. You see a need. You've got to fill that need. It's driving you freaking nuts.
Thank God my wife truly understands that.
Yeah, it's a big
wife
deal.
Number 3, though. I will point that out. Again, you want business advice? Take it from me. You want marital advice? You can either think I don't know anything at all,
or maybe you know a lot.
Yeah. But wife number 3, she doesn't question that. If she does, it lasts about 1 second.
Yeah.
And then she's done with it.
And so your spouse has to believe in it's your purpose, and they support that purpose. And it's not about, and then your job, if that purpose is, you have to know that, like, you have to provide, you have to continue.
You still have to do.
Yeah, you got to do your shit.
Yeah.
You can't sit there and you're not daydream, man.
Yeah. Well, you got to earn credibility too.
100%.
I mean, when you've had some successes and there've been some paydays or whatever, then they have a little bit more respect.
Yeah, and then if you're leaving this
trust,
if you're leaving this kind of comfortable, environment, you're going to dive into the unknown, deep abyss of the ocean.
Yeah,
and that's a lot of times why people decide not to do it, and maybe they rightfully shouldn't.
Yeah,
but if you believe it's a market fit that you're going to go after it, and you're about to leave this, this secure situation. But it's your purpose and you can't help but doing it and your spouse is supporting that, then you jump in. But if you jump in, like you need to know that you're the one rowing that boat, man. And so like it's your responsibility to get back out of it as fast as possible if you have to.
Yeah.
But then if you get back out of it, you're not freaking depressed and holding your head down.
But see,
you're back in the grind, baby, and you can get back into your purpose again real quick.
Yes, I mean, that's so true. But, if you think about it, let's say either of us had like a big exit from a company or whatever, and we got enough money that if we were really careful and lived with any kind of reasonableness, we'd never have to work again. Okay? So, we could say, well, we could have done that or we should have done that or whatever. But then think what your life would really be like. Let's say you had no businesses at all.
Yeah.
Okay? And now you get up every day, you got somebody out there cutting your grass for you and somebody out there maintaining your pool and somebody out there cleaning your house, all right? And you take your car to the car wash and they clean it and they vacuum it and they clean your windows and everything because you go to the good car wash.
Yeah.
What do you do with your life? I mean, where are we going to go out to eat tonight, honey? I don't know.
Dude,
okay.
I'll be vulnerable for a second.
Should we go to our house in Florida and sit there for 2 weeks and do nothing and think about where we're going to go out to eat in Florida?
Being vulnerable, there was a situation that I had where I didn't have to work as hard.
Sure, of course.
I could take that time, but it only took me about 2 weeks to recognize how confused I got real quick. That was not a fun feeling, because if you're an entrepreneur, you're living by purpose.
Yep.
Right? At least that's how I think. And so if you take that away and now you don't have a purpose and you're sitting there, you might have a lot of free time.
Yep.
But just because your spouse or whoever your family's purpose is different than yours doesn't mean you can fit into that mold. You cannot do that. So
it's like death.
It is.
Death is going to set in soon.
It is. It's depressing really fast, and I've seen a lot of entrepreneurs, very respectable in our area. Mm-hmm. Like Nick Dozier is a good example of how he lives on his purpose, right? He has a good exit, but then he's back in the grind because that's what he's supposed to do.
Yeah.
And knowing why you're alive and what you're doing, baby, that's the gift of life. That's what you're doing, man.
God, you've gotten philosophical as you go.
Thanks, Mark.
I had no idea. Okay. You're always a lot of fun to work with and we have a lot of laughs, but I just didn't know you're deep. You're like Jack Handy. Deep philosophy.
You should
deep
read
thoughts.
You should look at my life book sometimes.
Deep Thoughts with Eric Howerton.
Introspection's a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
Because you are on an island.
Yeah.
It's hard to but that's why I really enjoy the show.
Well,
is that I'm able to talk with somebody that kind of understands a little bit what goes in these brain cells.
You're on an island, and soon though we're going to have a coach coming on our show, and I know coaches are supposed to take you off that island to a certain extent. A lot of people believe in coaches. We just had that discussion in a board meeting. You and I were both in. The coach can be critical.
Yeah.
I'm skeptical, but some people think it's great.
Yeah. And it can be helpful, right? Sometimes you need
somebody to talk to as your coach, your therapist.
That's the thing as an entrepreneur. You need someone to talk to.
Somebody to talk to. You talk about being vulnerable. There was a time in my life I went to go see somebody to talk to.
Yeah.
But he died. And I never went back. It was kind of nice, though. Just sort of cathartic. Just sit there and just say, he's got to listen to you. What do you feel about that? Okay. And then he died on me. Damn. And that was the end of that. I never went back. It's terrible to say. He was a great guy. It was really sudden, and I considered him a friend.
Yeah.
But anyway, well, we got to wrap it up.
Oh, we flew through this one, man. So I guess the answer, when's the best time, is now.
Yep.
To our point in the very beginning. I mean, if you see the market need, you better jump on it. I mean, because it's not like it's going to get better.
Somebody's going to do it.
Here's the big thing. It's never going to get easier.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
Like, so you might as well get in there and get nasty with it.
Yeah. I mean, I do agree with that, truthfully. I will say, though, if there's things you could do to reduce your overhead,
yeah,
get your debt paid down, have as much available credit if you need it, those things will help you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, there's no doubt about that.
I mean, sometimes I look back and go, I wish I would have sat around in a room for a few months and really planned something out.
Yeah.
But, man, at the same time, though, again, it's like my mentality, there is no such thing as a bad meeting. There's no such thing as bad marketing. Mm-hmm. It always helps. It's always beneficial. There is a such thing as speed and acceleration. So you just jump in, you make the decision, you get going. Yeah. And there's a huge thing called FOMO.
Yeah, what's that?
Fear of missing out.
Oh, yeah.
And that usually creates a market for you. So, like, sometimes it's just good to jump in. Sometimes it's good to plan a little bit.
Yeah, no question about it. All right. Well, this has been a fun episode.
Yeah.
As always, we encourage people to like and subscribe. Like and subscribe.
Yep.
BigTalkAboutSmallBusiness.com.
Yeah.
We're on every streaming platform that you can imagine, as far as I know.
And send in your questions. We get questions. This is part of one of the questions too from a listener.
Yeah.
We love answering these.
We love your questions. We would love for you to be a sponsor of the show. If you spend money on marketing and you're trying to reach small business owners, current and aspiring,
it's a good place.
Send us your money. We'll be glad to promote your product or service as long as we think it's good.
Yep.
Otherwise, we're not interested.
Yep, we're out.
We're out because we don't need to do anything if we don't want to.
That's right.
Thank God for you, Mr. What was the guy? Daddy Warbucks over there continues to fund this show thanks to his podcast videos.
Yeah.
For us and our listeners. But no, at some point we will need to get some sponsors of the show.
Yep.
But we don't care. In the meantime.
Care.
So anyway, until next week, this has been another episode of
Big Talk About Small Business
and Entrepreneurship.
Thanks for tuning into this episode of Big Talk About Small Business. If you have any questions or ideas for upcoming shows, be sure to head over to our website, www.bigtalkaboutsmallbusiness.com, and click on the Ask the Host button for the chance to have your questions answered on the show. Stay connected with us on LinkedIn at Big Talk About Small Business, and be sure to head over to our website to read articles, browse episodes, and ask questions about upcoming shows.